I'll mute this.
Yeah, John. Okay. Welcome. We're going to start with our circle. So find a position, hands on chest or rib cage, that's fine. Okay, if you're standing, that's also good. We're going to look down, but from the top. So double chin, pulling the back of the head up towards the wall this way. So double chin first, then into flexion. Look to the right without turning through the torso. Ear over shoulder. Stretch the open side. Up. Take the chin towards the ceiling. Don't want any pain on the closing angle. Follow that round. Back the other way to the left. Over the shoulder. Don't lift the chest. Stretch up and through. And continue now, guys, with a couple of circles on your way. Always the 3 reasons we do this. Maintain the range. Improve the quality of said range. And then there's an assessment to further direct your. If you've got experience, you can then start doing that sort of quarter circles if you want to, if that makes more sense for you. It's really up to you if you are not coming here for the first time. Hands across the chest, or give yourself a big hug. I'm going to just turn to the side ever so slightly so you can see from there. We're going to forward fold through that upper portion of the back. They're going to rotate without turning the hips to the right. Right shoulder, right pocket. Flexion one side, extension on the other side. Elbows towards the ceiling now and extend all the way up to the top. Across left shoulder, left pocket. I was doing this with somebody else the other day and they said actually they felt like it feels like a figure of 8. And I was on board with that. You can do varying tensions here as well. Yeah, rotate down, up, across. We move on to shoulder blades now. I want to do shoulder blades one at a time. Let's put this block between. If you've got a seam on your shorts, on your trousers, you can put your middle finger on that seam. That's going to stay. We're going to bring that shoulder forwards into protraction first without rotating the body. So we're going to come forwards. Keep protracting as you then elevate up towards the ear. Keep elevating as you then retract. Keep retracting as you then depress. And then protract again. Without the swinging of the arm or the elbow or bending at the wrist. Protraction, up, retraction, depression. Other way, retract, up. Okay. If you ever get the opportunity to do this with a two-way mirror, not a two-way mirror, it's like a mirror in front and a mirror behind you, so you can actually see your shoulder blade moving. That's that makes for a pleasant experience, so you can actually see what's going on your back. Okay, other side. Okay. Middle finger on that seam. Protraction, elevation, retract. Down. A few other compensations, leaning forward when you do the protraction, lifting or flexing to the side. When you elevate, we're trying to avoid that. When we rotate or retract, that we don't lift the chest up, depress, that we don't go too far down the flank. Same again. As I say, if you have experience with this, then you don't need to stay in pace with me, okay? You can do those little quarter circles if you want to, picking off parts of that circle that make the most sense to you. Hand out in front, the imaginary iPhone on the forearm, and then you start, oh, there we go. Start moving the wrist, okay? So we're gonna bring that palm towards you. The phalanges, they're gonna stay straight, that's your fingers, all right? Okay, inside, open up, show me the palm. Thumb a lift on the outside, and then come back towards the top. Okay. If you're just using your hand to stabilize that forearm, keep doing that. Thumb the lift on the outside. Open up that palm. Back, round. If you're feeling fruity, make a fist. same thing, okay, same circle. So the intention is the same, but the load profile is now different. The endless bounty that is controlled articular rotations. Other side when you're ready. Not so easy for me on this side, actually. Been working on this. Pull that wrist towards you. Fingers onto the inside, open up. Palm, you can see how this wants to tilt. Back up. Thumb the lift on the outside. Round we go. Okay. I'm going to go half kneeling here because I haven't done that yet in the new space. I'm going to half kneeling, one hand on my chest. I'm going to bring that arm across as we do our straight arm circles up into flexion. Rotate, internal rotation. Keep rotating as I reach back into extension. And then the back of my hand facing the leg. I reach back, relay race, extend. Keep that rib cage down without leaning. Rotate. And then bring up and through. Touch, and then come back. If you're standing here, that's absolutely fine. If you've gone a little bit shallower with your circles because you understand where your compensations are, that's fine. We're talking about throwing that body forward. We're talking about maybe lifting or leaning over to one side. Lifting there, feeling like that shoulder blade is doing too much work. We come away from that. Feel the head of the humerus turning in the shoulder like a key in a lock. All right, rather than the whole thing coming for the ride. Swap it over, okay? Nice and steady, tucked if you're in this half kneeling position, hand on chest, rib cage down, across the body, open, rotate, reach back into extension, and then come through. Back, relay race, rotate, and through. Obviously, I'm looking to the left. I don't know why, because I'm the only one on screen, but across the body, up we come, rib cage down. Find that sticking point. Rotate there, reach back. Back we come, rotate, up and through. Everybody down onto all fours. Now we're going to do a little bit of cat camel. Okay, we talk about spinal segmentation being very important, okay? You don't get a huge amount of movement out of each vertebrae, but that is sort of accumulative to make those nice waves and curves. If you think about it, and I'm going to double down on this, if you think about the old plastic straw, the illegal straw, as it's now known, and it had that sort of concertina bit at the top, to effectively use that straw optimally, you would only move that concertina one little place each, and you would get that nice curve. If you went too much in one position, you create the pinch point, okay? And you can also see that when you use a hose or anything. If you fold a hose over, you get that pinch point, water stops. And the water in that metaphor is your movement capacity, okay? And the straw is your ability then to obviously drink effectively. And a good spine moves the way that you want it to create that nice curve. Each movement or each little run on that concertina is doesn't produce a huge amount of movement, but accumulative gives you that nice sort of parabolic bend or whatever you want to think about it. A lot of us are moving very well at one joint, which is the pinch point, but then that stops us moving elsewhere. So this is an assessment for that, all right? Best thing to do is to film yourself doing it. Where do you move well? Where do you move a lot? Where do you not move well, okay? I'll stop waffling on. Here we go. So soft elbows, knees underneath, okay? All right, hands underneath shoulders. We're going to start in that neutral spine and then start tucking the tailbone underneath. You can actually think about shortening the hamstrings to tuck that pelvis. We round up through the low back, creating space, unloading that spine between those vertebrae. Keep coming up through the lower back into the mid back. Don't rush. Up through that sort of rib cage region now, being aware, okay,
what movement's coming from the shoulder blades. That shoulder blade for me. Okay, nothing wrong with that, but it's not back. Okay, up through that upper back we push, and then we tuck the chin. Take a breath here. Straighten yourself if you rock forward or backwards. From there, we're going to start to load the spine, which is taking that tailbone up towards the ceiling. Okay, you can actually think about pushing your knees and your feet away from each other, getting a little bit of length. Okay, and that will help stick that tailbone up. Okay, for those yogurists out there who are doing this class, all right, this is a familiar movement. When we come into it and look at any movement that's familiar through a mobility lens, be wary, because familiarity breeds compensatory movement. All right, we want to bring awareness to every single vertebrae here. Chest down towards the floor. Lift that chin. Take another breath here. Soft elbows. Unload the spine last time. Tuck that tailbone. Think about those hamstrings shortening. Up through the lower back. Chin still up, still looking through the eyebrows. Up through that upper back. Wary of the scapulars. Into camel. Okay, lying on your side. All right, for those people who are sharing a lounge, you're going to have to configure yourselves. Okay, here. Lying on the side. I've got two blocks. I've got one block here that I'm holding a little bit of stability. I got a little bit of a head thing. A pillow will do. 50 quid underneath the bottom knee, as we always say, okay? Other leg on top. We're going to start by bringing that knee in, all right? Bring it in, shorten the tissue here. Open up. Thigh hydrants, okay? Try not to roll, all right? Not a baby rolling onto your back, but we just want to open up. From there, we're now going to rotate, okay? That knee rotates towards the floor, the foot rotates backwards. We max out that rotation as you then start to kick back, donkey kick. Keep the height, and then we can start to lower. Bring it in, shorten, open. If you want to go to those quarter circles, that's fine. Rotate, kick, lower down. Two in the opposite direction, donkey kick back. Lift, rotate before you bring forward, shorten, and down. Donkey kick, lift, rotate, up, and down. Two on the other side, guys. All right, if you, like I said, if you want to do a couple more circles, if you need to spend a bit more time, if you want to go a bit faster through your circles, that's also fine. I mean, not too fast, obviously. But, 50 quid underneath, okay? Knee in, up. Obviously, lying on the side is not the only way you can do this. You can do it all fours, you can do it standing. Any way, really, that you can think about doing controlled articular rotations. The more variety, the better, really. Okay, present different challenges to your body. If you've been doing them one way for a long time, try something different. Lower down. In. Open up. Fire hydrants. Max it out. It's like magnets repelling each other. Fix that there as we rotate. Max that rotation out and keep rotating as you kick back. Sort of arabesque-like. And down. Donkey kick on the way back. Hold. Lift. Rotate. Up. And down. Donkey kick. Lift. Rotate. Up. And down. Okay. Knees either tucked under, pulled in, feeling at the back, either here, you can grab underneath in the lower bit, or you can get right up into the groin, into the back of the knee, all right? we're looking for that whole shin bone to rotate. All those runners complaining the runner's knees, lack of rotation at the knee. It's got to be something to do with the old runner's knee. So we're looking for a shaft, or to imagine a shaft that's pinning. I mean, I suppose that is a shaft, isn't it? So like a pin going through the floor, through the heel, calcanean, good word for you. All right. And we're looking to get external rotation, shortening the hamstrings on the outside of the leg and pulling that knee across, not from the hip, all right, and not just movement at the ankle, the whole piece, external rotation, shorten one side. We should see the big toe and this ball here, this little joint, moving together as we move through the middle, and then internal rotation, shortening the hamstrings on the inside. Okay, let's give a little vision here. You can see my hamstring as I externally rotate. You can see all of this stuff shortening and pulling, and then back through the middle. One more, external, internal. All right. If you always do your cars, which you should be doing every day, all right. If you always do them in the same order, top to bottom, for the next week, go bottom to top, all right? Because I can definitely attest to the fact that by the time I get to here, you know, you just kind of want to get it done. That defeats the whole purpose. We're trying to bring awareness, control, all right, to these body parts. External, shorten the stuff on the outside. Internal. You can do things open chain, off the floor. You can do it at different lengths, all right? Your body will just absorb all of that good information like a sponge. Back to the first leg, ankles. If you want to stand, that's fine. I like to come in and do this sort of choke hold. Over the shin, I lift up. I'm going to evert first, foot out towards the side. I keep everting as I then go through the point, through the ballerina point. The foot then starts to rotate as I then bring it into inversion and then across. Cross, round, through, up, round, through. Again, just like with the fist, you can do this with open toes all the way through, or you can try it with closed toes. Really just feel the difference. Same thing, same task, trying to make the circle, but completely different sensation. All right? We want to give your body as many experiences of different sensations as possible. Okay, other leg, inversion, through that point with the rolled foot, evert, back, evert, through, good. Okay, toes. I'm sat on the floor, so I'm going to start with this. So point toes first. Yeah. Point toes. And then pull the knees in. Keep pointing. As soon as you get the tripod on the floor, the ball of the foot underneath the big toe, underneath the little toe, and the heel. As soon as they're on the floor, stop. All right. That just means that you're working at the end of your active plantar flexion. Okay. You could come in more, be a bit easier. All right. So we're going to do it from as much toe point as we can, and from there, I want you to lift all toes up, and then down. Big toes down, little toes up. Down, little toes down, big toes up. Down, all toes up. And then spread them. If you're thinking, oh, I normally do this standing, and it's much easier. Again, it's the same toes, it's the same muscles, it's the same movement. So why is it different? Well, law of specificity, okay? So if you want to move in a specific way or at a specific angle, you've got to train at that angle. All toes up, all toes down, big toes down, little toes up, little toes down, big toes up, all toes up. Give them a spread. Right, that finishes it off. Okay, so today's workout on a Saturday, always a little bit longer. So now we've got 40 minutes to get stuck into a little bit of hips. What I've been doing on the Tuesday class is saying, look, you've put in a lot of time into talking about how to expand from the inside out, how to create space in a joint, the joint being the space between two bones. We started at the capsule, we were doing a little bit of tails and rails, that's pushing and pulling to expand the space, okay? That's one option. There are some people out here that have got plenty of space, in which case they don't need to spend as much time creating more, they just need to control it. That being said, even if you don't have any space, all right, or if you have very little space, a bit like me and my hips, or certainly up until recently, that doesn't mean that you can't then start trying to use other tools in this functional range toolbox, because everybody deserves a chance to try out these different things in order to train the space that they've currently got, okay, to improve the capacity and the diversity of the movements that their joints currently have, okay, that it just means that the setups will be slightly different. So we're going to look at not expanding any more space, but doing some more of those passive range lifts, the hovers, that kind of thing. I'm going to do and focus on the front leg from 90-90, and then we're going to try and experiment with it from a couple of other different positions. Okay, when we come into the second half, we'll be doing some shoulder stuff. We'll be working those shoulder calves again. So again, no expansion, but the variety comes in the base positions that we will be trying to do the same thing. The demands will change. Okay, so pick. Let's everybody do right hand side first. So we're going to do right hand side. It's easier for me to easier for you to follow if we're all doing the same thing. So we're going to set up the 90-90, particularly focus on the front leg, okay? So when we set that up, all right, we're going to be focusing on external rotation. Because we're focusing on this front leg, this is less important. So if this is uncomfortable for you and all you can think about is what's going on here, my God, this is uncomfortable, make it less uncomfortable by either pulling that leg in, leaning out to the side, or maybe raising up. You don't have to do it on a yoga block. A towel will do, a cushion, okay? Find a position. If you have experience here, you know what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to just find and start to breathe. The checklist for this front leg, okay, isn't just, okay, well, I have to get deep into this stretch as possible. We can be a bit more subtle. The first thing I'm going to do is tilt, okay? I'm going to posteriorly pelvic tilt, so I'm going to stick my arse in the air. Betty Boo style, I call it. All right. The next thing to do in order to elicit or to find a stretch in the front leg at the back, okay, the back of the front leg. All right. Stick the tailbone out, belly button forward, and then perhaps actually think about shunting the hips backwards. Now you're not going to move because this is stuck to the floor, but that kind of direction will enable you, hopefully, to guide stretch into tissues in the hip. All right. If you can only feel it in your back here, maybe you need to lean out a little bit. Maybe don't go so far. Okay. The last thing on that checklist, the last two things, if you still can't find a stretch here, is to perhaps rotate outside the front leg or then lean forwards. Okay. Some of us will need to lean forwards, but that shouldn't be your go-to. If you have good body control, you should be able to find a stretch from up here by moving your body relative to your leg. All right. Once we found that stretch, and if you've been there for a while, thank you for your patience. Okay, what I want to do is focus on passive range lift-offs, which is lifting this front leg up. Okay, we're still focusing on rotation. Okay, external rotation in this case. So as we find a position that we can actually lift that front leg from, so for me, in order to lift this front leg up evenly, I'm going to have to lean out here. All right, some of us will be up top. I want it to be difficult. All right, so you're only going to lift up by about 2 inches. Okay, if you're all the way up here, it's too hard. It's too easy. We're going to make that harder for you. Okay, first of all, let's find a position that you feel like you could actually lift that leg up. For me, it's going to be out here. Then we're going to get into our minds that imagery of a circle, okay, or a wheel, because it's rotation, shortening this bit, and then the leg hovers. We're using the dial, okay, we're using our sort of volume dial, our pails and rails dial, in order to ramp up tension in the shortened tissues on the outside of the hip. The foot then starts to feel light, the knee starts to feel light, and then we will then end up lifting up, okay? I want you to imagine that you've got a cup of tea on your ankle, all right? And even though that's going to stay flat, you're still trying to get that foot higher than the knee, all right? So as I breathe, I take a breath, I pack air down, I start to dial up tension, shortening the tissues on the outside of that hip, and then that foot comes off the floor, I place down. I'm really fighting for this, okay? We're going to go 15 reps, which is a lot. When I call out the numbers, that is not light switch, you've got to lift. That's your cue to dial up, to get to the intensity that you need to lift the leg, and then to keep dialing as it's up, okay? If you get out of sync, don't worry. I don't want you to be switching on and switching off these muscles. I want you dialing up and dialing down. The leg comes down slowly and with care. A lot of talking there, so let's make sure that we're working hard. That's your responsibility to get that dial working well, okay? Going to take a breath, front leg. Going to start shortening the tissue on the outside. The rest of the body becomes a statue. You start building up the intensity that you need in order to get that leg up. And lift when you are ready. 1. Place down. 2. 3. 4. 5. Foot higher. 6. 7. Imagery in your mind. Rotate. 8. If you start to fatigue, you can make an adjustment as the leg is on the floor, lean further away, comes down. That's absolutely fine. If you started up here and you're starting to fatigue, you can see compensatory movement. Okay, 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. Dial up. 14. 15. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Place down. Okay. In an ideal world, it's all in this sort of haunch cap here, shortening that tissue, trying to rotate, okay? What we'll do is we'll go straight in at the other side. No rest for the wicked. All right, I might try, yeah, I'll show you from this different angle. This back leg is not important, okay? Get comfortable, enable yourself to feel and focus on this, okay? We are symmetrical in the sense that we have, most of us anyway, have 2 legs, 2 arms, and we're symmetrical down the middle. That being said, from an internal perspective, you might not be as symmetrical. You might have more room on one side than the other, in which case, respect that. If you can get deeper into these stretches, if you can get, or if you need to change, do that, all right? This side, I'm able to stay up a little bit higher. I've got more room, okay? But I'm still going to make it as difficult because I'm only going to work at a height where I can get my leg off the floor 2 inches. I'm not going to have too much of a run up with this. In your mind, breath. Start to get the idea of that shortened tissue. As the outside of that hip starts to shorten, dial it up. Foot feels light. And 1. Christ. 2. 3. Cup of tea on your ankle, okay? They should be the same height. If you can't get them the same height, lean out a little bit. If you're like this, all right, lean away, and that will enable you to focus on that external rotation, trying to get that foot higher than the knee. Lift. 5. 6. Use the rest of your body to create stability, push down into the floor. 7. 8. And get your mind into those tissues on the outside of the hip. They're the ones that are shortening. To pull, rotate. Big left hand drive on the wheel. 5 to go. 4. 3, 2, 1. I'm not sure if I was counting very well there. Apologies if I was all over the shop, but somewhere in the region of 15, eh? Again, this stuff in here, okay? Next thing I want to have a look at, different position, same sort of thing. All right, so we're going to use a bear sit position. Bear sit, your friend and mine from here. Now, some of us are not going to be able to achieve this straight back. If you have the option, you can lead and put yourself up against a wall, all right? And then that takes or gives it a little bit of feedback there, okay? If you are sitting up very nice and tall, all right, you can use something behind you as a feedback tool to know whether you're pushing in and knocking that over or whether you're staying nice and straight, or you can use that as something to sit on just to give you a little bit more room that you can get. For some of us, none of that's going to work, all right? And in which case, you just bring the awareness that you're just trying to get as tall through the back as possible. The next thing, and actually, because I have the option, I'm going to bring these, but these are not essential by any stretch, okay? Just to give me a bit of a guide for my seat. So the legs are wide into this bear sit position. I have a tendency to let my legs slip out, you see, so these are now blocking me. I'm going to sit tall, my hands are on my shins. I just want to get comfortable there to start with, okay? Whereas just before, we were looking at just the hip capsule and the rotation. Now we're looking at some stuff that not only external rotation, but all of this stuff that crosses the joint. So there's a little bit of linear tissue here as well, not just the rotational stuff. Okay, again, I'm going to go a little bit wider and I'm going to get a bit deeper. Okay, the higher up, if you're not feeling a stretch, get those knees up close towards you. All right. If you are feeling a stretch, but you're all rounded up here, maybe put the hands behind, okay, and work into this position. Now, because this is external rotation focus, we're going to keep that in mind and we're going to do some hovers, okay? Now that hover looks like this to start with. So your either hands here, down on the floor, or behind you if you're struggling, all right? If you need to lateralize, not struggle, okay? Because it's all about good position. I'm going to go one hand on my leg, I'm going to push down. The other hand's going to be on the floor, I'm going to take up. The idea here is I'm still going to have that rotational element to this, okay? I'm trying to get that foot higher than the knee. I'm going to dial up tension and I'm going to hold for 5 seconds, okay? So it looks like this. Take a breath, externally rotate, trying to get that foot higher than the knee. I build it up, shorten all this tissue on the outside. Two, one, place down. Things to watch out for is as you lift, that leg coming in, okay? Or that leg drifting out. From the side, hopefully, what you'll see is that I'm fighting to keep my back nice and straight. I've lifted from there. I'm going to lift the same leg, take a breath. Air in, rotate, rotate, rotate. And place down, okay? There's no movement forwards or backwards from that knee. Just the rotational element, okay? If you've practiced a couple of there, you couldn't help yourself, fair enough, you've still got to do 5, okay? We'll start with the left leg, because that's where I was just then. Here we go. Take a breath. It's just as easy just to have your hands behind you. That's also, that'll help, okay? Or you can have both legs in front. I'm going to push down on one side. Take a breath, externally rotate the leg. When you're ready, you dial up and then try and lift that foot off the floor. 1. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, place. Take a breath. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's 2. And lift. 4, 5. That's 3. Lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4. And lift. 3, 2, 1. Down. Oh my Lord. Take a couple of breaths with both hands on, lifting up. Now, again, same thing as this last time, same sort of feel. Left and right feels a bit different. So if you set up like this last time and you're like, there's no way I'm getting that leg off the floor, find a position that makes sense, that enables you to create the stability through irradiating the rest of the body and create or to deliver the task to specifically shorten the tissues that you need to in order to create that lift, okay? Here we go. Take a breath. Ooh. Start to shorten that tissue on the outside. Externally rotate. Build it up and lift. 3, 2, 1. Down. If you can, if you're using this arm, drive downward. Actively pull this leg down as well. And 2. 2, 1. Place down. 3, 5, 3, 2, 1. Oops. Getting used to it. Ready? And lift. Down. 4. Last one. And place down. Okie dokie. Now, something that we haven't done before, guys, okay? But we have used the technique, but we just haven't done it in a squat. So all of this joint-specific stuff and, external, internal rotation is all because that's what hips can do. But what we all know as sort of traditional exercise is this idea of pattern training. So a squat is a pattern, a lunge is a pattern. And that does have a place in the Kinstretch world, in the mobility with mat world. So we're going to finish this lower body now by putting all of that stuff that we've just done into a pattern, but with that kinetic stretch, with that Kinstretch mobility with mat sort of tweak to it. So everybody can stand now, okay? And if you've got any, I just want you to work with a range of movement that you are comfortable with, all right? I'm going to just adjust the camera just slightly. Anyway, I didn't think I was going to have to do that in the new space. But we're going to figure out where a nice comfortable range is, or a width, okay? So I would probably go just shoulder width or just outside, 30 degrees pointing out with the toes, okay? And we're going to do a squat, all right? But we're going to do it slowly, and the intention is going to be to, on the way down, focus on all the tissues that are shortening, okay? So this is new for everybody here, okay? The shortening tissue on the down phase of the squat is the hip flexor. And if you think about, if I do that and then try and hold, it's those muscles, except instead of me pulling my leg to my chest, I'm almost pulling my chest to my legs. So it's hip flexors. I want you to think about shortening hamstrings, and I want you to think about shortening this stuff on the shin. What does that mean? It means pulling, okay? Pulling with them to shorten them, all right? It's going to take 5 seconds to get down to a comfortable range, all right? You don't have to get your balls on the floor or your ass on the floor. You just have to work with what feels comfortable, okay? For lots of us, that's going to be above parallel, parallel. Some of us may be able to get a little bit lower, all right? We're focusing on shortening tissue on the way down, and then on the way out, we're going to think about progressive tissue, or the tails stuff, which in the squat is going to be thinking about your bum, your quads, okay? And your calves, pushing through the floor or trying to push the floor down, all right, as you come up. It's going to take us 5 seconds to go down. We're going to hold in that bottom position for 5 seconds, and then we're going to come up for 5 seconds. If you get slightly out of sync with me, don't worry. I'm going to do a first couple face on, then I'm going to do from here. We're just doing 5, okay? 1 set of 5 squats. If none of that made sense, let's talk about it afterwards, all right? Here we go for our first set of kinetic squats. Feet shoulder width apart, just outside perhaps, 30 degrees. You're going to have your hands out, going to create some tension in that upper body, squeeze the fist, maybe interlock the hands. Take a breath. Start to break at the hips and the knees as we start to pull ourselves down into the bottom position. So it's 5, keep pulling, shorten this tissue, shorten the hamstrings, shorten the shins. 4, 3, 2, hold. 5, keep shortening that stuff. 4, 3, 2, 1, push out, slow. 4, 3, 2, hit the top and come back down again. Shorten this stuff, try and pull. Pull with the hamstrings, pull with the shins. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, up. 5, 4, 3, all of this stuff in the quads. 2, 1, hands out and squat, pull. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, up. 2 to go, and pull. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, up. 1, and down. Pull, shorten with this stuff. Pulling into the hips, pulling with the hamstrings, pulling with the shins. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1, drive. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, you can hear me, I'm out of breath, okay? Who needs external load when you've got all that internal training? So, the kinetic squat, we've used that technique before. Regressive tissue on the way down and progressive tissue on the way up. So just to refresh you where everybody catches their breath. And if you're not out of breath, you weren't working bloody hard enough. We talked about kinetic stretching from the 1990 position. As I've told you, to pull down and to drive out. Shorten tissue here. Progressive tissue on the way out. Same stuff. So that is why, again, the Kinstretch forms one part of this very powerful system. And that's why it is a system, because you can be like, oh, right, I've already done that. I just need to transfer it into this. And you just drag and drop, okay? Rather than having to learn different, just set exercises all the time. It's just about intention and using the system and the techniques, okay? All right, as promised, 15 minutes to go. So we're going to do shoulders now. We're only going to be working with this, all right? So that's the glenoid humeral car, or the shoulder car, okay, if you don't want the fancy term. But as promised, we're going to be just doing that from various base positions. So the one that you pick at the beginning might be a standing base position, all right? We're now going to do it from the 90-90 to start with. So back down on the floor for everyone. And we've got a different base position, all right? But the primary focus is to move through the glenoid humeral car, the shoulder car. So if sitting up nice and tall doesn't allow you to think about this because you're too worried about whether your hip's going to dislocate or your face is as red as a beetroot, and it takes away from the intention of this, regress or lateralize, okay? So for some of us, that's going to mean in order to be able to feel like I can do that with control, I might need to be out here. It's still a different base position. It'll still be a different load profile. We're going to do 3, so you can change it. All right? If you're a real dab hand at this particular position, and you have the ability to hold this without any arms on the floor, which I do not, because I'm all stuck. But if you can sit nice and tall, you are welcome to try and do this car with no hands on the floor. All right? Here we go. 90-90 from your version that makes the most sense. Open palm across the body. So that stays the same. I do want this to be difficult, all right? But I don't want the base position to take away from what you're doing with the arm. We come up and across. Push the legs down into the floor, up towards the ear. Same rules. If you've started to lean with the chest or arch to the back, that's your stop point. Keep working it back. Rotate the arm from the shoulder, key in the lock. Rotate and keep reaching back. Keep the hand high into extension. Keep internally rotating and down. Tap the floor and back we come. Relay race, rotate and across, okay? If that was easy, find a position that's a little bit more challenging with respect to the 90-90, so that might mean a little bit more upright. Again, across the body, up, ribcage down, rotate, stretch back. Tap, lift, rotate, and across the body. Last one, tap the knee, up. Rotate, reach back, tap, lift, and across. Now for the fancy pants, we need to get to the other side. So we've got an opportunity to do an isometric movement path here. So we can use the sort of a Kinstretch approach to transition to the other side. If you're already knackered, meet us on the other side, or if you can't do this exercise, that's fine. Otherwise, facing forward, you're going to lift and open up with the back leg. These knees repel each other. Keep lifting until you max that out. Then bring the body. Notice the bear sit, internal rotation of that leg. Once that maxes out, then we can start to rotate, and we find ourselves in 90-90 on the other side. All of that symmetrical stuff that I was talking about earlier, find a position that challenges you for the glenoid humeral car, but not so much that it distracts from the quality of the movement that you're doing. Okay, from this 90-90, tap the knee across the body. Up, rotate. Keep rotating as you stretch back behind you. Keep rotating as you then tap, lift, rotate, ribcage down, and across. Up, rotate. It's okay to change your base position slightly at the end of this, each rep, just to make it more challenging. Really quite up right now for me, which I'm quite happy with. Cross the body, drive those legs into the floor. Rotate. Stretch back. Lift. Up. And across. That's 3. Keep this going. We're now going to isometric movement path, not all the way to the other side, but back to bear sit. Okay, so facing forwards first, open up the back knee, drive the back front knee forward, open up as much as we can, then bring the body, these trying to stay as far away from each other as possible,
Find your bear sit position. Now, you won't be able to sit against the wall for this because you need the space behind you. But if you feel like a sack of spuds and you're like, I can't move from here, get yourself a seat. All right. It can be high. If you don't have one today, all right, sit in a chair, or you can sit on a chair or on a stool. Just go wide with your legs and then work, all right? Or if you don't have that and you're like, you know what, I'll just do it from here. I'll work. I can lean back as far as I need to in order to keep that nice straight back. I can have my legs nice and wide, and then I can work from here. All right, I just don't want you to be too rounded up. Not that you can't do shoulder cards with a flex spine. It's just not what I want today. All right. Okay, dokie. From the bear sit position, one hand on the leg, or behind you, or in front. Whatever you need to do in order to keep a nice straight back. Hand out in front, we come across the body. Same thing. Okay. Up, rib cage down. Keep externally rotating the legs. Up past the ear. Start to rotate, reach back, touch the floor, back and round. Not too fast, but if you're slightly out of sync with me, that's absolutely fine. Okay, keep externally rotating those feet. Up, across, rotate, back. Oh, enjoying this. Touch, lift. Here's one from the back. I've got my feet up against the wall to stop me moving. Up and across. Rib cage down. Rotate. Back. Tap. Lift. Up. Okay. Other side. Find that bear sit position. It might be here because you can't create the same level of stability that you have to change and alter, again, because of that asymmetry. That's fine. Lift it up. Externally rotate with the legs. Hand across the body. Up and across. Rib cage down. Rotate. Stretch back. Tap. Lift. Rotate. Up. Across. If you're getting tired and you're feeling you're breaking your position as you're moving, hand behind, find that position that makes sense to you. Externally rotate, drive down with the knees, up and across. Once you start to take those compensations out again, that's when you start to notice how much harder it gets for your shoulder to move. Okay, up and across. Rotate. Back. Up. All right. I'm going to be ambitious. Let's be ambitious, guys. So we did bear sit, we did 90-90, and then we did some kinetic squatting, didn't we? So the idea here is to do a kinetic squat, hold the bottom, and then move your arm. Oh, goodness, I've actually got the fear, okay? Now, the main focus of this, as I said, is to move the arm. So if any sort of, there's no point being all the way down here and being like, I can't move my arm here. All right, you might as well just squat a little bit, hold that, shorten the tissues, and then work from there. All right? So you only squat as deep as you need to in order to, or as much as it is you can, in order to create a challenge, in order to do 3 circles on one side. You're going to hold that squat for the 3 movements, hopefully. If you need to come out each time, absolutely fine. All right? I confess, this, I've just put this in here. It's not in the plan, so we'll see. All right? But it's going well so far. So feet shoulder width apart. Let's do the kinetic squat bit first. I'll give you an idea. I'm going to pull, 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 This is me, okay? I'm not going to move from here. I'm now going to have my other arm out, and I'm going to start my glenoid car from here. Up, rotate, back, lift, rotate, and down. Up, rotate, down. Up, rotate, down. Last one. Up, rotate, up. Holy moly, that's grim. I do want that to be a squat, not a hinge, okay? We've hinged before, and we've done stuff from here. We've done the swimmers, all right? So what's the difference between a squat and a hinge? Well, again, a lot of the same muscles being used, but generally speaking, the squat has more knee flexion or more knee bend, all right? Okay, here we go. Last three. Oh, that was hard, man. Feet shoulder width apart. If you need to go a little bit wider, that's fine, all right? Whatever the position you need to be in order to make sure that this arm is working well. Other arm is doing whatever it needs to do in order just to create that stability. Hands out. Start your kinetic squat, so pull. You stop at that point where you're like, there's no way I can move my arm here. Just before that, I'm going to start across the body. Rotate. Up. A little bit lower for me. Up. Rotate. Back. Up. Rotate. And out. Oh, I ended up a bit low there. Okay, find a space on the floor. Eyes closed. If you're seated, that's fine. You can see how my breathing is a bit. I'm going to try and bring that down. Nice and calm. Just through the nose. Breathing in. Oh. Cold coffee that's supposed to be warm. Oh, don't mind cold coffee, but not a coffee that's gone cold. Eyes closed. Find a position you're happy in. Breathing in through the nose. Out through the nose. Pushing your tongue into the top of your mouth. Bring the awareness back. Open your eyes. That's 11 o'clock on the dot. Okay. Just to close that out, by doing all this extra stuff, you know, so I'm saying getting out the extra tools out of the box, you can see that the possibilities are sort of endless. Once you start combining the lifting and then you've got extension, then it's just your imagination. You don't need all the space in the world. Not everybody needs to be a contortionist in order to express or to challenge their body with that kind of variety. However, having more space will enable you to perform more things, okay? But that's not to say, when I say do this and lift, if one person is all the way up here and doing it and the other person is down here, they can still be working as hard as each other with the hardware that they've got. okay? But the more room you have and the more body control, the more options that are available to you. And you can see that if you ever look at me and think, oh, I'm not in the same position as him, or I'm having to lateralize loads, well, I might be a little bit ahead of you, but you can see in that squat position, when it gets very, very complex, I didn't look comfortable there. I didn't feel comfortable there. It was a real challenge. Okay, I surprised myself on one side, but everybody has their limits, and that is, you have to find those limits with your imagination within this system. Okay, that's it for today. So thank you very much for those people who are joining later online. Namaste. For those people who are in class, just hold on and I'll have a little chat with you once I've unplugged. Okay. Oh no. Hang on a minute. Stop.